let's welcome to our next session, Let's Grow Boating and Fishing and Maryland Approach by Donna Morrow, Program Manager, Center for Marine and Coastal Stewardship, R3 Matrix Team Co-Chair, Maryland Department of Natural Resources. In 1998, Donna brought her experience as a boater and a marine professional to Maryland Department of Natural Resources Clean Marine Initiative. Today, she leads the Office of Marine and Coastal Stewardship, where she oversees the Maryland Clean Marine Initiative, Maryland's Clean Vessel Act program, and the Coastal Consistency Program. So, thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all so much for coming out, and hopefully we've got some bodies that can warm up this very chilly room. But as Monica said, I'm Donna Morrow with the Maryland Department of Natural Resources. And I appreciate you coming to learn a little bit about how we've approached growing boating as well as fishing. We know the two activities are closely related, but there are some big differences, right, between recruiting and retaining boaters compared to anglers. Boating requires a lot more time and a bigger financial commitment than fishing. So Maryland wanted to help people build their skills to be safe and have fun, while also introducing them to some alternatives to boat ownership. A little background for you, how we got started with this initiative. It was actually an industry idea. Back in late 2019, the former executive director of the Marine Trades Association of Maryland approached me with the idea that the Trades Association, which includes boat dealers and boat repairers, as well as the Department of Natural Resources, should be working together to make boating, new and returning boaters more safe and more confident in their skills. Data tells us that about 40% of boaters leave the sport in the first 4 years. That is not good for boat dealers and boat repairers. It's also not good for the Department of Natural Resources. Susan and I talked, and it was very clear that, we also know statistically that most boats are under 26 feet and they're on a trailer. Launching a boat and retrieving a boat from the water are some of the most stressful things a new boater has to do, and they have to do it in public. Docking is another one of those things that's very stressful, and it's done often with people watching, and it leads to yelling and screaming and embarrassment. You can sort of picture the skipper, typically the guy, getting excited, yelling at the wife, the girlfriend, the kids. There are even t-shirts out there that say, "I'm sorry for what I said when we were docking the boat." We figured this has to contribute to people leaving boating, right? This is not fun. So with this in mind, she and I set out in 2020 to organize an event that had professionals demonstrate how to launch and retrieve a trailered boat, how to approach a dock and tie up properly, and to demonstrate the required boating safety equipment, such as personal flotation devices, flares, other visual distress signals, and sound-producing devices, all required equipment on boats. It was called Welcome to Boating. But let me show you instead of tell you. Maryland is a water state, and the Maryland Department of Natural Resources prides itself on providing access and activities to families and people from around the state to learn about safety and the skills that'll keep them on the water for many years to come.
Boating is fun, and we have a lot of new boaters on the water. We want to teach them about how to stay safe and how to have a great experience when they go boating.
Developing your seamanship skills is a journey, and whether you're a new boater, experienced boater, or whether you're just a passenger, this is a great place to come and learn some new skills. You'll enjoy it more if you know all the things that are going on.
Everything was geared towards safety, from you docking to you putting it up on a trailer to the life jacket.
And it gives you confidence going out there now, and you understand all the rules, you're more confident.
I'm so grateful that the state offers this kind of clinic that educate me a lot and put me in perspective where I would know what to do before I jump in the water or put anybody else in that kind of situation.
Today we have the opportunity to share with them some of the advances in life jackets, and we're getting a lot of really good questions. An event like this allows us to share our best practices and get people to really see what makes a difference when it comes to boating safety.
Stay safe, have fun, and we'll see you on the water. I think that video does a really good job kind of giving you an overview of what that event entailed. We continued with that approach for 2 years, Marine Trades and DNR working together. We hosted 1 or 2 of those Welcome to Boating events each year. We did it at a centrally located state park. Primarily, we did this on weeknight evenings. And keep in mind that what you just saw and all these pictures here, the first several slides, were done with no grant funding, really no budget, except for staff time. And I'll talk about that a little bit. Susan left the Marine Trades back in 22, but I realized that this was a project worth continuing. So I applied for a state marketing grant from RBFF, and I was successful. And the grant enabled us to move from just demonstrating boating skills to putting participants behind the wheel. And we got to offer fishing instruction as well. So we ramped it up and called it Welcome to Boating and Fishing. And that was last May, was when we actually held the event. And we had 3 goals in mind when we built this project. Certainly one was to increase participation in boating and fishing by urban and multicultural audiences, and building skills in a social environment. And all the goals that I'm going to mention were built on a lot of the research that has been done by RBFF and others. So that's where we identified our goals. Second was to increase participation in boating and fishing by women, by providing hands-on training and tools in groups just for women. And lastly, we wanted to demonstrate the relevance of boating and fishing to new groups and increase participation by removing barriers to boat ownership. As I said at the beginning, it's expensive, right? Let's face it, purchasing a boat, that's really intimidating. That's prohibitively expensive for a lot of people, including especially young families. So those were our goals. The strategies that we employed were partnerships. I cannot stress that enough, how important partnerships were here. I worked for months with the lead partner, the Annapolis School of Seamanship, to prepare and promote the event and to offer the on-water boating instruction instead of just demonstrations. This School of Seamanship was the same that provided demonstrations in earlier years. They donated that because they were members of the Marine Trades, they were partners, they wanted to come, and it was good exposure for them. The School of Seamanship also used their online platform, and they handled all the reservations for the boating classes and had the necessary insurance. They marketed the event to their very large mailing list. So they were a key partner. The Boat US Foundation for Safety and Clean Water, they'd been with us from the beginning. They continued and they provided free boating safety equipment demonstrations as they had before. Our Natural Resources Police have a safety education team, and they have a lot of volunteers. They were on hand once again to just explain the required boating equipment that you have to have by law, what are some of the boating regs, give out materials. And staff from across the agency helped. And the Marine Trades Association, of course, was with us on the days of the event. So a little bit about what we offered. The on-water boating content is the first part. We had 2 on-water classes. First was just basic boat operator, which was co-ed. And then the second was called Women at the Wheel. And that was for ladies only, and it had female captains teaching the classes. But they both covered the same introductory skills, which was operating a vessel at the correct speed, steering, tying knots so that you can dock and tie up, and then how to approach and leave a dock. Every student had time at the wheel. The School of Seamanship normally offers these sorts of courses, like they already had the curriculum in the bag. That's why they were such a good partner, and this is their boat. They had the captains and everything. They normally provide those classes in a much longer format, but for our little weekend event, we wanted to run as many classes as possible, so they scaled it down and gave us a 1-hour event so that we could do it 3 or 4 times each day, each class. So there was always boats coming and going. And as I said, the Boat US Foundation and Towboat US, again, provided instruction on boat safety equipment and demonstrated launching and retrieving, as you can see on the bottom left there. The grant also allowed us to have a seminar tent and really kind of expand this. This was an idea that came from our partners at School of Seamanship. We rented a big tent. We had exhibitors and seminars throughout both days. Again, every hour or 2, there was a new speaker coming in the tent, so the idea was that people might just flow in and out of the event. They didn't have to come for the whole day. And we alternated between fishing and boating seminar topics all weekend. I reached out to some local fishing magazine writers, and within our own agency, our staff and a local outfitter to get some great free speakers, right? That didn't cost anything. And I met a lot of new people working towards the same goals, and that was a lot of fun. As I mentioned, we got to include a fishing component this time around, and we called it Ladies Let's Fish. And this was just for the women. Men were, of course, able to attend if they wished, but it was geared toward women. We have an RBFF-funded first catch trailer. So we brought that, and we had a number of volunteers who helped instruct, most of whom were women, give instruction to the ladies. We even had a bilingual instructor there who spoke Spanish. And as you can see there on the top right photo, we had a beautiful weekend, first of all. The weather was great. And so she taught them the basics that you do. If anybody has a first catch trailer, I guess you're familiar with these, but if you don't, they have all the basics that you need to teach how to tie a little knot so that you can put together your rod and reel, and some fish identification and some casting practice out on the lawn with some objects that you try to first, hit with your line and hook. So that's what we did there. And then the icing on the cake was that with that grant, we were also able to hire a head boat to take all these ladies out fishing on the bay to go casting following their lesson. I mean, this was the real icing on the cake. I mean, if you look at the smiles on these ladies' faces, they had a blast. They would never have gotten to do that. So big thanks to RBFF. That's not something that we do every year, but it was really special. And I just want to add, too, that doing this fishing component, for me anyway, I'm more on the boating side of things, and this allowed me to make a lot of new connections within my own agency of resources I didn't even know. I now know who to call for help if I want to do another event. I've got a lot more contacts. So that was what we offered. The marketing strategy for this, we utilized a lot of diverse imagery from RBFF that was already available, highlighting women, minorities, which we used across all of our promotional products. We had web, we had social media, we had flyers, and we had an event registration page. So we had just an event web page, and then we had an event registration page if you were going to register for classes, because not everyone was taking classes. We were providing some things that were required registration, and of course a fishing license before you could come. Other things, it was just, the demonstrations or the seminars. We feel like we got a lot of social media and digital impressions. This event information was shared with an estimated well, ballpark it, but maybe 20,000 views between our own DNR Facebook page, Chesapeake Bay Media, which is a local media partner and does weekly e-blasts, the School of Seamanship, again, they have a huge mailing list, and we did also go to we went to an angler's, a local outdoor outfitter nearby. We put flyers at their counter. We met with some of their customers, things like that. So we estimated, not all of their customers saw that. We estimated, maybe a 10% open rate on all of those impressions, which is maybe not accurate, but that's our guess. And also I wanted to, again, back to our original goals, I wanted to try to reach more diverse audiences. So I tried to establish contact with Outdoor Afro, which is a online Facebook and social media group, as well as Latinos Outdoors. I didn't really get any responses. They're not, a structured, organization that's got a board of directors and a lot of staff or something. So I was kind of disappointed. I was like, shoot, I really wanted to engage with these groups. So I joined them on social media. I was like, I'm maybe they'll let me join as just a member. So I did that, and then I posted and shared a lot of event information just as a member of those groups. So that's a workaround. And we also had, we're lucky to have staff who were able to translate our marketing flyer into Spanish. So that was posted on our website as well, and I would encourage folks to think about that. And then last but not least, as I said, we wanted to break down barriers to boat ownership. So there are a number of boating clubs, boat sharing clubs for people. So if you don't want to buy a boat, it's kind of like a timeshare. You pay a fee each year and you get use of a boat. So we invited some of them, there were about 4 of them in the area, to come to the exhibit tent and put up a table. Only one of them chose to attend. And we had no budget for radio or television or anything like that. Along the same lines of marketing, we had some groovy shirts made for the women who attended, like little tech shirts, sunscreen blocking shirts that says "Get on board" on the front. And then we had some little dry bags made for anybody who came, got a little dry bag that they could take with them. And these were both branded with Take Me Fishing and Discover Boating logos. The women's shirts, like I said, say "Get on board" on the front, and on the back they say "I like making waves, boating and fishing in Maryland." Trying to keep that branding of Maryland in front of mind. So the on-water, I will say the on-water instructions that the boating classes, they sold out. Those were great. The Ladies Let's Fish classes, pretty well attended, a lot of interest. Small groups, very happy with. Unfortunately, the rest of the event was not nearly as well attended as we had hoped, in spite of our best effort. I think I can talk about a little bit about that, but I think it might have been just too much competition on a beautiful weekend in May. There's a lot of things going on in the spring, and whether or not this one becomes the one somebody goes to or not, it's hard to compete with everything. So. But as I like to say, I am not a quitter, so I decided to do another event. So this time, I put together a little event just after Labor Day and called it Women on the Water. This event was much simpler, scaled down version. Again, 3 hours on a weeknight evening at a different state park. This shorter format was a lot easier to organize and relied on just 2 of us from DNR, and it was an opportunity also, frankly, to use up some of our leftover promo materials that we had. So this one was different. I had to come up with some new content. And the way I decided to do it was I began the event with a short talk from me, because I'm sort of the boating messenger for it. And I gauged a little bit the participants' experience with boating, their access to it, and their interest really in any type of boating. Have you ever been boating? Does somebody in your family have a boat, or your friends? That kind of thing. And then I just shared my personal story, highlighting really the fun, the freedom, and the confidence that boating has provided me in my life. And frankly, it's kind of turned into my whole career. And then I concluded that little boating portion. Again, it's just a short little presentation, informal talk, and I gave them all a list of boating instruction opportunities around the state. So, hey, if I've piqued your interest, take this with you. You can continue to learn more. And then after the boating segment, we again did the first catch trailer was with us. So again, they did fish ID, knot tying, and casting. And then we had casting and fishing time from a nearby floating dock for about an hour or so. And you can see that center photo. Those ladies are having a lovely time on a late summer evening. They've got their t-shirts on. They're happy. They really enjoyed it. And we promoted this event just through DNR social media, using photos from the May event that showed a nice group of ladies having a good time. So that group was small by design, this event, and it really worked well, I think. So people like numbers, so some results from kind of what we did. We had about 18 women take the on-water boating instruction, Women at the Wheel, and at the first event in May, and then 24 newer returning boaters took the co-ed basic boat operator class. 11 of those were women. I think those were mostly couples based on those numbers. And we had about 37 women, most of whom were Black or Latina, received basic fishing instruction between both of the two events. And 61 people registered for the Welcome to Boating and Fishing event, just to come and take the free stuff, the seminars or the demonstrations. So again, not as many as we had hoped. We had really thought we'd get a couple hundred people through there. Unfortunately, it didn't work out that way. So lessons learned, I guess, is sort of what the takeaways were from this. I will say the partnerships are wonderful, but they take a lot of time. They take a lot of nurturing and a lot of investment. They pay off, but you have to have the time to commit to it. Also, providing on-water boat operator training was really popular, but if you're interested in something like that, you would definitely want to have a professional boating school with the resources. I don't think that's something that a state agency can really provide. There are a lot of boating safety groups, though, that will help at no cost. And I encourage you to find these partners in your states and territories. Some possible partners that I would like to mention are America's Boating Club. That's also been called it used to go by the name the U.S. Power Squadron, but now they have changed their name, America's Boating Club. Your marine trades associations, boat dealers, boating schools, boating instructors, local fishing and boating writers. All of these groups are potential partners. And like I said, the original event didn't require any funding. The Marine Trades Association, in fact, if you're interested in partnering with them, assuming you have one in your area, they actually made it a little bit of a money maker for them. They sold event space. They sold exhibit space. And like in the video you saw, there were people there with tents and tables. They sold those to them, to their members, to come and be in front of this audience. And they found it was worthwhile. And of course, most natural resources police agencies will come out. If you give them advance notice, they have and volunteers to come and help educate boaters. That's part of their mission. Coast Guard Auxiliary, that's another one. And again, the Boat US Foundation, they were wonderful. And that's a national organization, so I encourage you to look into those. Other lessons learned would be, again, the timing. As I mentioned, there is so much competition on a beautiful spring weekend, so I'm not sure I'm going to do that again, right? You have to do the trade-off, really, of whether or not it's worth the investment of time, and is the weather going to work out, and everything else. The other thing we confirmed, I guess it's not really a surprise, is that women and minorities really like learning. If you're especially brand new to something, they like learning in groups, small groups, and same-sex groups. It takes some of the nervousness away, the self-consciousness away, when suddenly you're not the only woman in the group or the only person of color in the group. They also would appreciate having instructors who look like them. So basically, women are definitely hungry for this sort of introductory opportunities to fishing and boating, but to all sorts of outdoor skills building. The demand is there. Another key takeaway for us was that our DNR social media was an excellent way to reach our minority customers. We always talk about underrepresented groups. Wow, we were just thrilled at the diversity of folks that turned out for our events. And when we talked to them, everybody said, we said, how did you hear about this event? Your Facebook page, that's what everybody said. So maybe that's the same in your state. And then lastly, on lessons learned, I would say, everybody knows what KISS means, I presume. Keep it simple, stupid, right? It's consider the shorter event, the weeknight event. Weigh that shorter time frame of an evening. Of course, you can't accomplish as much, but it's not going up against all the competition of bigger events on a weekend, because these aren't big events. But there's no one size fits all. You just want to think about that in your planning. The other takeaways I would say is, if you are not the person in your group who is a boater or feels confident talking to boaters, that's okay, but you can easily find passionate, knowledgeable boaters, either in your agency, I hope, or if not, somewhere externally, who can talk about their boating path and try to spark that interest. Anybody who's taken some of the R3 training, you may remember the ORAM model, the Outdoor Recreation Adoption Model. How do you move somebody from being somewhat interested in an event to actually calling themselves an angler or a boater? Interest alone is just the tip of the iceberg. So we want to have people that can spark that interest, that have the passion, but also then as they leave the event, do they get something to take with them? As I mentioned, I put together a list of all the boating schools, whether they were commercial schools, boat sharing clubs, and boating safety groups, that all the participants would walk away with that. So now that I've sparked the interest, when they go home, are they going to look it up and think about taking the next step? So that's important, and keep it fun. Obviously, we had a grant to provide the shirts and dry bags. That's not necessary, but you can be creative if you put together a fun event like that. For the Women on the Water event, we had one nice tackle box that had been donated. We raffled it off. One winner got the tackle box, but everybody had fun. Or other ideas is we've had boating stores provide coupons, or boat shows provide a free ticket to the boat, a pair of tickets. Something like that, or an outdoors outfitter. The main thing is you're continuing them along that adoption model. Get them to go the next step after they leave your event. And of course, you want to sign up and get them on a newsletter list for further outreach, push them to your agency's social media and other things. All right, so we did do post-event surveys, which I think you should definitely do if you're not. Doing an event is one thing, but you want to know what happened there. And of the women that participated in the fishing skills clinic, 83% of them said it increased their knowledge and confidence to go fishing again. 77% felt they had learned a lot just by watching the boat launching demonstrations and the demonstrations of the boating safety equipment. Just looking at it, they felt like they already knew a lot more. And 92% of attendees felt much more confident in their skills and abilities after taking that on-water boating instruction. And that's no big surprise. I would feel a lot more confident too if I had somebody actually show me, teach me, put my hand on the wheel, and it's the first or second time you've ever done that. That's a big deal. Some post-event feedback from our second event was the Women on the Water. And I was really thrilled with these numbers. We did the event, and we did a post-event survey 1 week later. 80% expected to take an introductory boating instruction in the next 12 months, just based on the information we put in their hands that night. And 80% had already gone fishing by themselves in 1 week after that event. I mean, that's huge. That tells me we're doing the right things there. So future plans, we do want to keep going forward with our Women on the Water event. My fishing partner, as I call her, Letha, has one of the first catch trailers. She and I plan to run 2 Women on the Water events this year. And they're going to, again, be 3 hours, weeknight evening, 4 to 7 in the evening. And primarily that's because of what works for Letha and me. We work a lot of weekends already. We don't want to work more weekends. So that's, you got to pick your battles, and that's it. And people came anyway, even though they might have had to leave work a little bit early. That's okay. They came because they wanted this opportunity. This year we want to connect fishing and boating a little bit more, and so I'm really excited what we're going to do this year. We have the Department of Natural Resources has a fleet of kayaks, and we figured this would be a good connection, right? Boating, that is the most introductory thing I can think of is paddle sports, so we'll bring the kayaks, we're going to put rod holders in them, we're going to be on a protected lake, and we'll give them the introductory little talk about boating, and we'll have them go through the first catch trailer, and then we're going to put them in kayaks and give them rods and send them on the lake. We have certified instructors. Everybody will have a life jacket. And if they don't want to go, they can just practice casting from the shore. But we're really excited about that, and I think that's going to be kind of the way this will work for us going forward. Again, low overhead, low lift. Unfortunately, the Marine Trades Association of Maryland will not be able to put together Welcome to Boating this year, the bigger event that had been going on for the past few years. They've got a new director, and he's just getting his feet under him, and maybe in the future he'll do it. And if they do, DNR will certainly participate and support that event. So that is my presentation. I guess in conclusion, I'd like to encourage everybody to build those relationships within your Marine Trades Association, if you have one, boating safety groups within your own agency, but try to incorporate that boating into your R3 outreach. Fishing is great, but fishing from a boat is also really, really great. And if we have time, we can take a few questions. I will also be at the Expo Hall tomorrow morning, if anybody has any questions then. But thank you.
Thank you so much, Donna. So if you have any questions, please raise your hand and I will go right away.
Thanks. First off, I've done women's kayaking. You will be amazed the confidence by the time they get on the water and come off. It will be exponential. But for your practical on the water, did you require any prerequisites like having completed boater safety?
For the boating, you mean the on-water instruction through
Yes.
the School of Seamanship? They handled all of those registrations. So no, I don't think they had to have their license because this was just a short introductory thing. But we did have the boating safety team there to explain that to them, that should they go forward, they will need it. And everybody had their PFDs and everything.
Any other questions? Okay.
And by the way, isn't this picture awesome? I love this lady. She is my poster child for this whole thing. She cracked me up.
Thank you so much, Donna. It was great information to share. My question for you is, did you have a small fee or charge associated with trying to recruit any folks? We try to partner as much as possible with events that are already long-standing, but with some that are more specific with hands-on. We've found that if we have a small charge, we tend to have better attendance. Did you do anything like that?
Yes, we did. For the Welcome to Boating and Fishing, if they were going to take a class, it wasn't, even though we had grant funding for this, we wanted to make sure they paid something or they wouldn't show up. So I think the School of Seamanship collected $15 from each person, just enough, and they also had to pay a park registration fee. And anybody, or, park entry fee. And anybody who was going to participate in a fishing event who was over 16 had to have a license before they could register and take that class. But yeah, we were hoping we would also get just a lot of walk-ins. It's a beautiful day, we're by the boat ramps, the park was really busy, but unfortunately everybody was doing what they came to do and didn't want to stop and try something new.
Any other questions? Sorry, this room is huge. So.
Yes, you get your steps in.
sorry to make you come all the way over here. Did you do any streaming or take any video of the events?
That's a good question. We didn't. And that's something we could have done better. We do have the video that we have that you saw. That was made, I think, in 21. We had a videographer at DNR at the time who came out and put that together, but it wasn't like a live stream, but that would have been a good idea.
Okay, is that something useful, or do you think that would work for you, or would have worked for you guys?
I do think that would have helped drive some traffic. If there were people in the moment, who saw that, they might have come. I don't know if it would have made a huge difference in terms of walk-in traffic, because if, you have to be in that specific area at that specific time, and so forth. But we do, our social media person for the agency always asks us to send, pictures from the field or updates from the field, and she can put those out in real time and say, hey, this is what we're doing right now,
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
No more questions? Okay, so thank you so much, Donna.
Thank you.